welcome listeners to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. This is the space where we explore mindfulness, meditation, and personal growth to uncover the best versions of ourselves. Now, in today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome our guest, Kelly Saward, a published author, radio presenter, and well being mentor. Listeners, Kelly's journey from anxiety and fear to love and self acceptance is nothing short of inspiring for all of us. Through her debut book, Desperate to be Loved, Little Notes of Self Discovery, and her work in mindfulness, journaling, and meditation, Kelly helps others uncover the person they already are beneath the layers of stress, anxiety, and fear. Listeners, get ready to be inspired as we delve into the transformative power of mindfulness and how embracing your authentic self can actually lead to long lasting growth. So let's quickly dive in. Kelly, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor having you with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Kelly, can you share with us? I know it's personal, but can you share with us your journey of moving from anxiety and fear to self acceptance and how mindfulness played a role in that transformation?
Of course. Yeah, it's been a difficult journey, one that's unfolded quite slowly, if I'm honest with you, just due to my own sort of lack of self-worth and confidence in the beginning. And anxiety really became a coping mechanism for me, which sounds crazy, really, but I realized that unhelpful patterns started to creep into my life when I felt off balance, had low self-worth, and I would constantly be on this loop. And I think is what began to happen was the anxiety became so present, particularly around health and in my youngest daughter, that I knew that something had to change. And with my own mum experiencing mental health challenges when I was growing up, I had an understanding around mindfulness and meditation, but always had the self belief that I couldn't do it, or that I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't experiencing pretty colors or a clear mind. And I think it threw me off. So I would try expecting a certain outcome, and then I would always deter from it. But I always kept being drawn back into it, and I was curious. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, I really started to practice a lot. And then I got real clear understanding of the true meaning of mindfulness and meditation and how helpful it is. And it changed everything for me. And I started to see my struggles disappear, essentially. So then I trained to teach in it, and I bring it into my work, and the things that I'm doing have evolved over time, but it still remains at the core of it, because I think we all have a lot of struggles that we will come across, but it's the growth comes from how we're able to manage it.
Absolutely. You rightfully said. And thank you, first of all, Kelly, for sharing your journey. And secondly, yeah, you know, uh, of course, mindfulness is getting a lot of buzz lately. But, I think it's not just a one time solution or process, in your journey of healing or personal growth. I think it is a continuous journey, and it has to be practiced, just like meditation. Of course, meditation is a kind of a tool for cultivating mindfulness. So, thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing that. And what inspired you to write your book, Desperate to be Loved? And what do you hope readers take away from it?
Well, I think the thing is, like you've just rightfully pointed out, it is an ongoing journey. It becomes a way of life when we're mindful. and we're more aware of things. And it's from that point of awareness we can make better decisions so that we end up aligned in places that suit us and where our body feels more comfortable. And I started to really see and be able to reflect that writing was a huge outlet for me. It always has been. I shared in my book that even when I was young and I was struggling, I would always write things down and then burn the pages because I wanted to express how I felt or the difficulties that I was going through. But I didn't want anyone to know because I might have been embarrassed or self-conscious or not brave enough. But the process of writing was really, really healing. So I think going through so much discovery around my own patterns,
Mhm.
I really wanted to share in my book not only the poems that I had written, because at the start of each chapter there's a poem that relates to that sort of period of growth for me, but I wanted other people to not be told that something has to happen in a certain way, but just almost hold a space where they can think, oh, I'm not so alone now. Maybe I could try that in my own time.
Hmm. Lovely, lovely. Also, journaling seems to be a very significant part of your work. And we all know
Mm.
journaling is a very, very healthy way of practicing mindfulness, a great way of personal growth. Uh, so, how has it helped you connect with your true self, Kelly? And what advice will you give to the beginners?
I think the thing is, with, I mean, journaling essentially for me was a similar discovery as with mindfulness and meditation, that there
Mhm.
isn't really a way that it has to be done. It's finding your own way with it and removing that expectation, because so often in life we're looking for outcomes. And one of the attitudes of mindfulness is a beginner's mind. And that's the attitude I take with my journaling. Sometimes I'll sit down to write. I don't know what I'm going to write. There's no plan. But the moment I allow the freedom around it, I just start writing words which become sentences. And then that uncovers certain things I might be thinking or feeling. And it might not make sense at the time, but just by putting the pen to paper, it often starts, yeah, uncovering little things that we might not have thought of. So my advice would be, if you think you haven't got time or that journaling is not for you, I would simply say just get a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Just allow yourself to just be in a space where you can be by yourself for a few minutes and just see what comes to you. And if you don't know what to write, start off by saying, I don't know what to write. And then from that, things start to come. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm. This, I think,
Yeah.
none of the guests ever mentioned, but I think it's a very, very good way to remove that block and, just let yourself flow while writing. I don't know what to write. This is what I'm feeling right now. Okay, let me just write it down.
Yeah.
Love it. Uh, Also, Kelly, how do you personally practice mindfulness and meditation in your day-to-day life? I mean, how do you accommodate it, and what tips would you give to someone just starting out?
Well, again, I think it's finding what works for you and not
Mm.
having too strict a process. Now, for some people, timing works really well. And of course, in life, we have to have a bit of structure. Even like us talking today, we had to find a mutual time. And of course, there's a place for people to have structure. But
Yeah.
it's what I realized for me is I am mindful every single day. We often all are, but we just don't check into it. So when I'm working with people, rather than using the word mindfulness, I'll either use the word awareness, or if I'm working with children, I will simply use the word notice. Because the moment that we notice the thing, that's when we are mindful. So people can be mindful all the time if the moment you become aware of your action. So that could be running, singing, cooking. There's so many different things that we can begin with. And that's how my practice is. So every day I find myself checking in, it becomes a habit, and I'll ask myself, oh, am I aware? The moment I've asked myself, I already am. And with meditation, again, I run groups, so I hold groups meditation. We'll all sit in a circle, and then I'll guide people through a different either visualization, or if I'm running a course, it might unfold in different steps. But ultimately, it's just setting aside some time just to be present with how you feel. And each day I make sure I do that. And that might look different each day. So I enjoy guided meditations. I enjoy just sitting in quiet. But
Mhm.
each day I will just check in and say, am I aware? Am I present? I'll notice a part of my body. And the more we do these tiny steps, they really are the big steps, because when people come to work with me, quite often they say, what am I going to get out of practicing mindfulness and meditation? And I think
Mm.
that is the biggest problem, which holds back people's growth, because mindfulness and meditation don't actually bring us anything. They take things away. So they remove stress, they remove anxiety, they remove pressure. And that's what we're doing. But we're in such an outcome driven world that it seems really difficult for people to understand that actually, by becoming aware of things, there's so much power in that.
Mm. True, true. Also, on the flip side, Kelly, mindfulness often emphasizes being present, being aware about the present circumstances or whatever is happening right now at the moment around you. But what would you say to those who find the constant focus on now, overwhelming or impractical in their busy lives?
Well, for me now, the way that I work, I would say focus on the feeling overwhelmed and welcome that for a second. So it's not really about being present, but it's just welcoming the overwhelm. Because I think the moment we welcome whatever the thing is we're resisting, you instantly give it a bit of freedom. So I have people, that are going through really difficult times. So, of course, sitting with whatever that is and being present all the time isn't ideal. Of course, we don't want to be with certain things because we want to lose ourselves in other things.
Yeah.
But then you become present in that thing. But it's just important to just welcome a moment of that, I would say. So if there's a struggle, I would say welcome the struggle, explore the struggle. Where do you feel the struggle in your body?
Mhm.
Maybe note down how you feel about it, and then allow yourself to enjoy something else and be present in that. It doesn't have to be sitting with how you feel all the time. It doesn't have to be writing for hours and hours. It's being present with different things and allowing them to move through.
Mm. That's very interesting. Okay, now talking about personal growth. So how do you view the relationship between vulnerability and resilience in personal growth?
Oh, that's a difficult one, because yeah, I think I've been criticized a lot of throughout my life for being too open.
Okay.
And now I'm starting to see in my growth that being open is what helps me to have deeper connections with people. So I've
Mhm.
had quite an internal battle with it. The battle between being vulnerable and the resilience, because equally you don't want to be open all the time, and over expression of tears constantly, versus finding the strength to be able to step into your creativity and grow a business and all these other steps. So again, it's welcoming a healthy balance of what's happening. And I do invite people to be vulnerable and open in the spaces I create, and really want people to feel safe in doing that. But from that vulnerability tapping into just maybe one thing that they could use as a strength and pass that forward. And there's a really beautiful quote that says, I can't remember the exact words, but along the lines of finding our purpose as a gift, but then sharing that is the true gold of it, if you see what I mean, because it's one thing to find what you enjoy, but if we don't share it, it's wasted. So it's taking those vulnerabilities and learning, but sharing them so other people feel less alone. That's where the resilience and confidence in ourselves comes from, I believe, personally.
Hmm. And also, you have spoken about helping your daughter manage anxiety. So, can you share any mindfulness techniques that parents can use with their children?
Definitely, yes. So I'm really passionate about helping children and teenagers because that was my struggle when there wasn't as much support out there. And some of the tips I would say is, first of all, it's welcoming how you feel without attachment. So a lot of children that I work with will come in with a certain fear or problem and they want to push it away because when we grow up, we're told, don't worry, don't do this, you know, it's okay, get over it, move on. But actually, it's quite confusing for children to grasp onto, but actually they pick up things really quickly. It's to allow them a space to worry. So with my own daughter, if she comes home
Mhm.
and says, oh, I'm feeling anxiety around this, I say, okay, allow yourself to feel it for a moment. The moment you give yourself permission and you're not pushing it away, it naturally moves through slightly by itself. So it's because we say, don't worry, don't feel, don't this, but we need to feel, we need to worry, and we need to have spaces where we can show up and be present with what's happening because that is where the strength comes from. The moment that we allow the awareness of what we're feeling to be present without pushing it down, because it's the pushing it down that creates that, the tight lid on the jar when it overflows. It's that kind of cycle. So I would say to parents to welcome what's happening with their child, to do simple techniques of where they can notice anything. It doesn't have to be the breathing. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique is really common, tapping into our senses. So noticing things you can see, hear, touch, taste to bring you into a more grounded experience. But there are so many different things that we can do. And a lot of children don't want to share or do this because they're worried about what other people think.
Yeah.
And it's really important. Another tip is to change our language around that. So a lot of people will say, I am anxious, but actually we are not anxious. We feel anxious. So the moment we can step out from naming ourselves as a thing, because we aren't it, we're just aware of this feeling.
True, true. That's a very great, uh, I think technique. Very great technique. Also, you emphasize the importance of community and communication. Uh,
Mm.
how do you create spaces where people feel they are seen and heard?
Yeah, so that's hugely important to me. And I think we always end up stepping into things where we might have not felt these things in life. And then when you do your own growth and development, you want to make sure other people don't feel that way. So I run meditation groups online and in person where people just come as they are. And then there's no level, like you don't have to be a beginner, intermediate, or have been doing it for years. I just welcome people exactly as they are. And I will just feel into the space and what people need. And then we'll guide through a practice together of being able to just connect with our bodies, our breath, and what we're feeling. And then allow people the space to share at the end. I also attend a lot of groups that are run by other people. I like meditative dance. sort of spaces where I can connect with things like this. So, yeah, I think community is hugely important because I think if we surround ourselves with like-minded people, we're more able to be authentically ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Also, you say when we build habits from fear, we lose ourselves. And when we build habits from love, we find ourselves. That's a beautiful, beautiful quote. So, how can someone make the shift from fear based habits to love based ones?
Well, again, for me, this all came through mindfulness and meditation. And, I came to this realization when I wrote my book. And that's where I first shared that quote that I came up with. And when we come from a place of fear, of course, fear has a place in life, the fight or flight response. If we're being chased by a tiger, we need to run, we need to do these things. But if we spend much of our life in fear, we end up pushing away opportunity. We end up resisting things. Whereas when we come from a place of love, our hearts are more open and we want to step into that experience and to connect more to love over fear. It's being present, welcoming what you're feeling, going into spaces where you feel safe to be able to be vulnerable and then build on the resilience of that. Notice where you feel the feelings of love and, openness. Go to those places more. Spend time by yourself, just loosely journaling, exploring where you feel loved and what versus where you feel fear, and just start to notice in your own life, the different environments and situations, and find a balance and move more into the habits that make you feel connected to a place of love.
Mm-hmm. Mm, that's very inspiring. So finally, Kelly, before we wrap up this beautiful conversation on mindfulness and personal growth, if our listeners they wish to connect with you and explore more about your thoughts, your wisdom, your insights about these spaces, how they can do that.
So I'm mainly active on LinkedIn or Instagram. So on LinkedIn, it's Kelly Saward, and that's Kelly Saward, spelled Saward. On Instagram, I'm at room_478. And they're the two platforms that I do use mostly. I am on TikTok as well, Kelly_room_478. And I do have a little YouTube channel called 5 Minute Thoughts where I share my own thoughts on things. But yeah, so you can reach out to me that way. And the reason behind Room 478, which is the name of my business and my handles, is the 478 breathing technique for me was really life-changing. When I found meditation difficult, I wanted to do a short exercise I could practice with my daughter, and we did that. So our starting point for mindfulness was just to breathe in for 4 seconds, for hold our breath for 7 seconds, and breathe out for 8. And that in itself was enough to make a difference to get us started. And I just wanted to create a room virtually or in person where people could just be free to be who they are.
Lovely, lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes for our listeners to connect with you, Kelly. And thank you so much for this heartfelt, beautiful conversation. It has been an absolute pleasure having you share your wisdom and personal journey with us, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been really great for you to give me the time to listen to what I have to say. So thank you.
So, listeners, there we go. Kelly's insights on mindfulness, meditation, and self discovery remind us all that growth is not about changing who we are, but uncovering the true self beneath the several layers. So, if you want to dive deeper into Kelly's work, be sure to check out her book, Desperate to be Loved, little notes of self discovery and also explore the mindful practices she shares. You can refer to the show notes along with this episode. And I would like to add, growth begins when we take the first step towards presence and self acceptance. So, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need a little inspiration today. Until next time, stay mindful and keep growing. Thank you.